Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Educate 247. Hope you have gone through the previous video which was all about the managing changes in the project. Today we are going to discuss the work breakdown structure and WBS Dictionary. Also, 50% of questions in PMP exam will be asked from agile and hybrid methodology as outlined by PMI. So understanding epic, user stories and backlog also becomes important. These topics are very important for upcoming PMP exam. Please watch till the end and do subscribe our channel for upcoming updates and useful videos for PMP exam. We'll start with how we can break down the scope. Then we will discuss about the work breakdown structure and WBS dictionary. Then we will move to the topic epic and user stories and how it is related with WBS and WBS dictionary. We'll also talk about the product and sprint backlog, and at the last we will see some sample questions. Let's get started with the scope breakdown. Okay, so what is the scope? Scope is the only work that needs to be completed. Only work is the key word here. If I draw a boundary and define some set of work, we call it, these are the work that needs to be completed and these are the work which are within the scope. Work defined outside the boundary, we call it outside the scope. We must have few important set of documents beforehand when we talk about scope breakdown. The first set of document is requirement document. Requirement document will have various type of information such as requirement description, and the most important one is acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria or success criteria defined by client or customer, and without that the deliverables is not accepted by the client that we have produced. The next set of document is requirement traceability matrix. Information such as requirement identification number, the source of each requirement, who is assigned to manage the requirement, and the status of the requirement should be documented in the requirement traceability matrix. RTM helps to ensure that each requirement adds business value by linking it to the business and project objectives. If you see here, I have taken an example. Although this template is not fixed, it changes as per the project manager or organization to organization. So it is your choice how you are going to make this particular document. So the basic set of information that we should capture in the requirement traceability matrix is project name, cost center, brief description about the project. If we have different modules in the project such as module 1, 2 and so on, we have different set of requirements under each module such as requirement number 1, 2, 3 and so on, descriptions for each requirement, okay, how it is going to add business value, so the business needs, objectives, goals, opportunities that we capture here, how it is linked with the project objectives, what is the deliverables for each requirement, what is the design for each requirement, what is the product development cycle, or what is the status for it, how we are going to develop it, and what are the different test cases for each requirement. The next set of document is scope statement. Scope statement includes product scope and project scope, their descriptions, deliverables of the project, acceptance criteria, what is not the part of the project, and assumptions and constraints. These two documents basically considered as a formal one, and the requirement document is considered as a informal one. Assume we have these set of documents and we are going to break down the scope. First, we simply list down the items. We can list down the items category wise, or we can make some hierarchical structure, and the benefit of making such a structure are it displays information, make it easy to overlook some deliverables, it's easy to manage, it's easy to understand by all stakeholders. Let's take an example. Let's see, we are going for shopping, we are going for grocery shopping. Before going to shopping center, items will be simply listed down, such as we want to buy onion, potato, okra, broccoli, bread, jam, coffee powder, corn, cheese, like that. Okay. Or we can also convert these items into hierarchical structure, such as, let's say, on top I have written grocery shopping. Now I can make some next level in which we can mention a category of vegetables, a category of let's say dairy products. Okay. And let's say I have another category which we call let's say personal care. Okay. And under each category we can, let's say, mention onion, potato, okra, broccoli. Here we can mention cheese, milk. Okay. Here we can mention, let's say, a shampoo, soap, or any cream, like that. So after that, we need to list down all the activities under each item. Okay. And under each activities we have some set of tasks. We also have a description about the life cycle that we are going to follow, such as descriptive model or the agile or hybrid model, that we can discuss in detail in the upcoming slide. Let's understand the work breakdown structure, and also let's elaborate it by taking an example. WBS is an effort to decompose deliverables into smaller component deliverables called work package. If you look at the diagram, okay, these are the lowest level of deliverables. We cannot further decompose it, and these are being called work packages. On top we have project name. Okay, at the second level we have project life cycle. It can be anything. It can be predictive, we call it waterfall also. It can be change driven, such as adaptive life cycle or incremental life cycle, right? Or there are few important facts which we should know about the work breakdown structure. WBS should be created by the project manager using input from the team and other stakeholders. Usually WBS is a very unique in nature, so it depends how the project manager is going to create it. It also depends on the nature of project, or also depends on the organization, and what are the methodology they are following for creating the WBS. The another fact is, each level of a WBS is a breakdown of the previous level. You can see in the diagram, I have taken an example of software development product, in which we have taken a name as software product release 5.0. Okay. The next level is the different phases of the project life cycle, such as project management, product requirement, detailed design, construct or build, and at the last integration and test. Each phases have some deliverables that we have broken down, and further it is not broken down. It can also be broken down, such as if you talk about meetings can be of any type, such as client demo, such as requirement gathering, such as brainstorming. Okay, meeting with SMEs, subject matter expert. So like that, we have a different kind of meeting. So we can further break it down. But for an example, if you see the diagram, if these are at the lowest level, it means these are the work packages. So in the project management category, we have planning as a deliverable, we have meeting as a deliverable, we have a administrative task as a deliverables. Similarly, on product requirement side, we have to gather the requirement for software, we have to document it, and we have to document for user also. It's a kind of user manual. Then we have to go for the training program, or we have to schedule a training, or we have to understand the requirement of the training, we have to gather the required material, like that. In detailed design phase, we can design for the software, different requirements in the software we can design. We can go for the user documentation, we can go for the architecture diagram. We can also plan training for the users or for the developers. Similarly, in the construct phase, we can go for the software building, we can go for the user manual, right? And at the last, we can go for the software testing. Similarly, there are other phases also, and there are deliverables under each phase. If someone wants to know the detailed information about the work packages, they should look for WBS Dictionary. What are the information that WBS Dictionary contains? The first one is code of account identifier. Okay, sometimes we call it control account. Control account is basically a management control point where budget and resources are accumulated, and that we use for EV or earned value calculation or variances calculation. Okay, uh, as an example, in a project there might be different resources are working for the same project they are working, but they can be linked with a different control accounts. We can call it different cost center or different business unit, but they can be part of the same project. The second important information it contains is description of work or description of work package. Assumptions and constraints about this work package. Who is the responsible organization? Any schedule milestone, I mean at which milestone this particular deliverables will be delivered or it will be completed. Associated schedule activities, at what time which activity will be performed. What are the resources required or how many resources are required for it. Cost estimates for this work package. What are the different quality requirements. What are the different acceptance criteria. Any technical references in order to accomplish this task. If any agreement information, if the work is being done with any vendor or any supplier, right? In WBS section, we discuss that each level of a WBS is a breakdown of the previous level. We also talk about that at the second level we have project life cycle. So if an agile approach or change driven approach is used in the project, epics can be decomposed into user stories. Let's understand these two important terms by taking a very simple example. If you compare this diagram with the WBS hierarchical structure, the first level is the project name. We call it initiative in agile. Let's say we are working in a software development product and product is called recruitment management system. So initiative is basically recruitment management system. Now this is further broken down into different epics. Epics is nothing but different module that is going to be developed in the recruitment management system. As an example here, the epic one I have considered the report module, in which there are two kinds of report we have to develop. So basically this report module has been decomposed into two different stories. The first report is employee referral and the second report is external consultant. Let's say how many applicants are being referred by internal employee for any of the job application, and such kind of report is called employee referral report. How many candidates are referred or how many candidates are outsourced or sourced by vendors, the external consultant, who are mostly the recruiters or some recruitment agency, right? So based on that we have a external consultant report. Similarly, as an epic 2 I have taken an example assessment module. Let's say we have a recruitment management system in which candidates who are applying for job, they have to first go for the assessment. So assessment, one of the assessment is for junior officer who are applying at the junior level, and one of the assessment is for senior managers. Okay, so these two are also stories that is broken by assessment module, and that is epic 2. So if you check the diagram, epic 1, epic 2 and epic 3, it is decomposed further into the story or task. Stories can be further broken down, the subtask 1, 2, 3. So basically if you see the one epic, it contains or it may contains the predictive model inside. Let's say we have to plan, we have to design, we have to build, and then we have to test, and then we have to release. So these 5 phases we basically cover in a typical software development life cycle, and that can be accommodated in each epic. Okay, that's we called the incremental or the adaptive life cycle. That's what this whole model is basically based on agile. Okay, so similarly in this epic 3 you can see the subtask 1, subtask 2, subtask 3, or story 1, 2, 3. Similarly it can be broken down to subtask 1, 2 and 3, or so on. Now let's talk about the product and sprint backlog. These two are very important terms when we use the agile methodology in the project. The product backlog is an emergent ordered list of what it is needed to build or improve the product. It is the single source of work undertaken by the Scrum team. Scrum is one of the framework under Agile umbrella. Okay. Backlog items that can be done within one sprint called as sprint backlog. We'll understand what is the sprint and what is the sprint backlog and the product backlog by looking at the diagram here. So if you see here, all the requirements are listed in a particular order. We call these requirements as user stories. Okay, and these set of stories we call the product backlog, and it is managed by product owner. So if you see these top 4 stories, which is part of sprint 1, sprint is nothing but a time box schedule in which some set of stories will be undertaken and completed. Okay, it can be of 2 weeks, or any sprint can be of 3 weeks or 4 weeks depending upon the project or organization. These set of stories, okay, are planned in sprint 2 and 3 respectively. It might be the first 2 stories will be taken in sprint 2 and the last 2 will be taken in sprint 3. Okay, sprint 4 is for all these 3 stories. Okay, and all together we call it the product backlog. It is also sometimes, if you use the project management information system, in which there is a different section of product backlog and different section of sprint backlog. Okay, there is a separate section for product backlog from where the stories are undertaken into the sprint and it is completed within the sprint. Okay, let's apply our lesson learned in solving some of the questions. Question number 1. In projects with adaptive life cycles, the overall scope of the project will be decomposed into a set of requirements and work to be performed, sometimes referred to as. The options are assumptions backlog, feature list, project attributes, and product backlog. I'll give you 10 seconds time to think, then we can choose the right answer. The right answer is product backlog. Question number 2. What is the product owner's role in deciding the priority of work in the sprint backlog? I'll give you 15 seconds time to think, then we will choose the right answer. Okay, the A is not the right answer, as Scrum Master role is to implement the agile practices, or to resolving the conflict, or to removing the impediments within the project or within the sprint. B is also not the right answer, because PO should not prioritize the work into the sprint backlog. Okay, C is also not the right answer, right, because it's again saying PO should prioritize the remaining work. So D is the right answer. Only developers should prioritize the work in the sprint backlog. Question number 3. What is the product owner's role regarding the product backlog? I'll give you 10 seconds time to think, then we will choose the right answer. Okay, let's start with A. The PO must identify the intended users of the features on the backlog. This is not the correct answer, as this is not the responsibility of product owner to identify the users for the particular feature. Product owner role is to manage the backlog, the product backlog. The B is PO is responsible for estimating the size of the total. No, this is the role of team. C is the PO must identify the dependencies that impact the backlog. This could be the right answer. Let's evaluate D first. The PO decide what to include in the backlog and what to exclude. This is also not the right answer because all the items which are pending or which are due for completion is a part of backlog. So C is the right answer. Question number 4. All of the following are parts of the scope baseline except. I'll give you 10 seconds time to think, then we'll choose the right answer. Okay, as we discussed, scope baseline contains project scope statement, work breakdown structure, and WBS dictionary. So the right answer is requirement document. This is not the part of scope baseline. The right answer is A. Question number 5. Ron is a project manager working for a software development project. Ron has created a WBS by considering predictive lifecycle. Deliverables decomposed into smaller deliverables and different work packages. Where Ron should look for to make sure the team members clearly know what is included in each of their work packages. I'll give you 15 seconds time to think, then we will choose the right answer. Okay. A is not the right answer because this is used in Agile and we are using predictive as per the question. B is also not the right answer. Why? Because project scope is not the place where we look for work packages. So the right answer is C. We always look for WBS dictionary for work packages information. Question number 6. The work breakdown structure can best be thought of as an effective aid for communications. I'll give you 10 seconds time to think, then we will go for the right answer. Okay, the right answer is stakeholder. The work breakdown structure can best be thought of as an effective aid for stakeholder communications. If you think ABC, this all covered by a stakeholder. Team, project manager and customer all part of stakeholder only. So the right answer is D. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel for further updates. Keep learning and all the very best for your upcoming PMP exam.